we'll make a circle, like you can place it in front of you, and I'd love you just to say your name. I'm a founder, owner, and of the Forest Bathing Academy Switzerland, Waldbaden Academy Schweiz, and especially there, I'm a trainer and inspirer for future Shinrin-yoku guides. I train people mostly, but I also help people immerse into nature in normal courses and day courses, and I do a lot of retreats together with an association that has specialized in well-being in nature. I'm also a political scientist, trained systemic coach, and a trauma therapist, and a certified Shinrin-yoku guide. Having grown up in Asia, I've kind of absorbed like a sponge the mindfulness practice and Zen Buddhism. That was it's something that I just live. Being mindful means for me always cultivating the beginner's mind, and what other place is there than nature to help us to reconnect to the beginner's mind. It means for me slowing down and becoming still and arriving in the here and now, in the present moment. And nature is just the best partner ever that helps you and supports you to do that. And it's being non-judgmental, so just observing what happens at that moment, whether it's something pleasant or not so pleasant. I just observe, I don't need to act. So these things I have completely incorporated how I grew up, and now I incorporate them in the way I train people. In Shinrin-yoku we want to be beginners, because as a beginner everything is fascinating and everything is wonderful, just like with children. So these three things, that's why Shinrin-yoku is a mindfulness practice, the here and now, beginner's mind, and just observing and not judging, are a basic element of Shinrin-yoku that through all the experiences that we do, we foster it. I'd love to invite you to do what I call the 10 steps of life. Now, how does that go? It's very easy. You do 10 steps with your eyes open, and then change for 10 steps with your eyes closed. And again, 10 steps with your eyes open, 10 steps with your eyes closed. The core of my business are trainings to become what we call, what I have defined as Shinrin-yoku health trainers. It's really important to have this health trainer aspect, because we want to show people how they can simply, by connecting to nature and through mindfulness, enhance their well-being. So health trainer is a training, practice, regularity. So I train people here in Switzerland in 3 years. I've trained over 160 guides and certified 52. And then the second part is my retreats with a collaboration. And the third part is doing corporate wellness and simple courses on demand.
I lost a little bit my equilibrium
Yes.
when I was walking.
Exactly.
So I almost fall. So
Yes.
I was trying to, even though I was stepping my foot forward.
The sense of balance is tackled a lot in forest bathing, because we get out of our normal autopilot mode, right? And the brain needs to adjust. So what we see is actually that Shinrin-yoku is automatically brain and neuronal training. We train different things that usually in our everyday life we don't do, and that helps actually make new connections in our brain. Thank you so much for sharing. That's around 70% of the people feel that. I have specifically really an interest in strengthening the nervous system through nature connection, and this for me is very important, the science behind it. How can you relax the nervous system? How can you make it more resilient? I work a lot with the vagal nerve theory, for example, and the vagal nerve training I incorporate it in my Shinrin-yoku practice, and that's quite unique. It's not something that is done, and I do a lot of embodiment practice. So Qigong is very important for me. I'm accessed on prevention, so Qigong is fabulous for prevention, and it's always about nature connection. And also I do exercises which are called body to brain, where the way you stand, the way you hold yourself, the way you look around, the way you connect with things have an influence on your mind as well and your well-being. So it's a mix between practice that is in nature together with science.
Then I was like dancing while I was walking, and then I could feel like how I should walk for not falling. So I was like dancing, like putting one foot here, another there, and then I didn't fall.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Getting into a beginner stage actually gives us the chance each time to develop, right? When I'm an expert, I already know it all. Thank you so much. Very beautifully put in words. Thank you.
Hold my
Yeah.
foot and to place it on the ground and to really be aware of that.
Yeah.
Because in everyday life we just walk like this, I don't know.
We often don't even notice on which ground we walk, right? It only we
Exactly.
notice it when it's a challenge, when it becomes slippery or so. But if I ask you, were there cobblestones or was this a normal asphalt, you will say, I don't know. Let me see. Exactly. So it forces us to become more present as well. And I notice, even through my thick shoes, I actually notice the ground much more. In the retreats, we are accompanied by the University of Bern. Actually, they analyze how we work, and our main goal, what we have, is to transfer into the everyday life. So that first bathing practice, we present it or we teach it in a way that people can find their own preferred little exercises that they can actually integrate in their everyday life, because our goal is that we support health prevention and well-being, and not only on holiday or on weekends. For my trainings that I offer, the certification trainings, I collaborate with a professor, Dr. Eike von Lindern, and he specialized in health psychology. So I developed a 5-phase program, which I always do, and all my walks are based on these 5 phases, and also my students learn this 5-phase program. And this is really based on research that is done since a long time, how relaxation works, for example, the path that you need to do, how distancing from the everyday life works. So it's all science-based how I do it, but just in a very playful way, so people don't feel the science-backed foundation. It's not what we want them to learn exactly. What do we have here? Maybe you know. Exactly. So I'll let you first discover with your eyes. Yeah, now I still have it. Look at it with your eyes and maybe compare with your neighbor. Does he have the same or does it look different? You have the same. But mine is different.
You have brighter colors than I do.
Yeah. What's different about it?
Yes, yours is bigger, more wider,
Yep.
flatter.
It's flatter as well, right? And if we turn
The
it,
younger ones, yes.
Mine's more or less the same, but you have
Mine's
different.
like dark
yeah,
green.
I have an up and a down
Like
side.
mine's
kind
like
of,
the
right?
weird
Yes.
part.
Yeah,
Kind
exactly.
of siblings.
Yes.
Your sibling. That's cool. You found your sibling. That's very good. So, and I invite you to take a little piece of it and discover the touch. So we've touched. Usually, when I say touch something, everybody just goes with the fingertips. But we will now discover that our body actually, depending on where we touch, It makes a huge difference. So if you first touch it with your, and I invite you to do it with eyes closed, because immediately our concentration is much more on what we have or what we do. So I'll let you do it with the fingertips. Then maybe put it over the back of your hand, or the inside, yes, the inside of your how do you call that?
Wrist.
The wrist, yeah, thank you so much. Maybe you feel a difference already. Maybe is there a difference? By side. Right. And then I let you move to the face also. And feel how it is to caress your cheek with it. How does that feel? If you find words to describe. Mine is soft and cold. Who notices something? How would you describe?
It's tickly.
Tickly,
It's ticklish, yes. There is not a real Swiss practice yet, because forest bathing has come to Switzerland through different institutions that are teaching abroad. So it's actually depending where people did their certification. In Switzerland, we only start training. We started 3 years ago with the training I do. And now from this year onwards, there will be the first training of a university, the ZHAW, and they do a more, how shall I say, they do an academic curriculum. Plus we have another institution that moves in from Germany, which was already specialized also in a more therapeutical approach. Whereas my approach is much more prevention. So we are now starting to have the 2 pillars of forest therapy, just like in Japan. But saying that there is really a practice in Switzerland, I think it's very diverse still. And I have founded 2 years ago the Swiss Shinrin-yoku Association. And we're trying to gather people and to find out where we can actually inspire ourselves mutually. And also we live with, like in yoga, with the different streamings of forest bathing, right? But there is no such practice as, for example, in the US. We don't have that so much. Smell and just crush it, because it's like in the kitchen for the thyme or the rosemary. We need to crush it a bit. How does that smell? This is what we call red spruce. With both we can make a tea, but they both taste different. Now we invite you, we all eat a bit of the forest now. This is a forest tasting. I invite you to take maybe just 1 or 2 needles, right? Depending on how intense you want the experience. So here it's really the terpenes and all the aroma oils that you get in contact. Crush it, because in order to release the aroma oils, it's like in the kitchen, you need to crush it a little bit, otherwise it won't release. And I hold the bottle for you, and I let you put it in with a good wish. With a good wish for nature or for whoever you would love to wish something good, if you feel like it. I think the pandemic has sensibilized people a lot for the topic of self-care and well-being and reconnection to themselves and nature especially. And the slowing down of that the pandemic has forced onto people has actually sensibilized people for the benefits of slowing down. And all of this has made that the 12 trainings that I have given over the last 3 years were all sold out. So you can really, when you go inside the forest, you offer yourself a little branch. Now, how do we take the things? This is really important. Sometimes I have people saying they don't find it okay that I take something. Now, nature wants to share, but nature also wants to be respected. So when I take something, I do it very mindfully in the sense I know why I take it, and I have a grateful attitude inside myself. My dream is that doing forest therapy is just as normal as going for your yoga class or for a fitness center, that people really realize that it's a huge gift and potential that is around us if we see it, if we hear it, feel it and touch it, and that it becomes a part of the normal health prevention setting here in Switzerland and of course in all other countries.